The following is a paid political ad for the Nico LaHood for District Attorney campaign.
Good morning. My name is Matari Jones and welcome to this special program. As you all know, tomorrow is Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th. That is when you, the WOAI viewer, has the opportunity to elect a new district attorney for Bexar County or the incumbent, a 16-year veteran in the department. What I'd like to do is introduce you this morning to Nico LaHood, campaigning as the new district attorney for Bexar County. Good morning to you, Nico.
Good morning.
So let's talk about your campaign here.
Sure.
You are here, I'm here. You are running against a 16-year incumbent, Miss Susan Reed.
Yes, ma'am.
There is an empty chair next to you. Tell me why that chair is empty.
Well, I think it's symbolic. I mean, she has continuously refused to interview with the citizens and the viewer and the voters of Bexar County to get her job back, to be reelected. In my humble opinion, I think she has a sense of entitlement to that position. And I've been doing nothing but interviewing for months and months and close to a year now with my potentially new employers, which are the voters and the citizens of Bexar County, to hire me and to release her. So she has not shown up before. She was invited specifically today. I invited her through her campaign manager yesterday at an event that we were at through social media and through the media itself. So she's not here, and I think that's a little disrespectful to the viewers and to the voters of Bexar County.
You've mentioned before you wouldn't apply for a job or you wouldn't get interviewed or you wouldn't get the job without being interviewed.
Well, you just can ask any employer. I mean, if a potential employee applied for a position and said, I want to work for you. Okay, well, you need to interview with me. No, I don't want to interview, but I want to work for you. You need to hire me again. It's my position. Nobody would be hired that way. Any job that any of us have ever had, we had to interview for that job. And this is what the campaigning process is. It's a process of interviewing and re-interviewing, discussing issues, answering tough questions, not all softballs, tough questions, and to make sure that you're accountable to the voters. And that's what I've been doing in this campaign, holding Ms. Reed accountable for her report card. And I can only assume, and I hate doing that, but I can only assume that she's not sitting here, and not just here, but many other opportunities, because she doesn't want the viewers and the voters to look at her report card.
And when we talk about report cards, the district attorney's office is a job that focuses on performance and effectiveness. And you have said that you would run the district attorney's office a lot differently if the voters elect you as the next district attorney of Bexar County. When you talk about your opponent, Ms. Susan Reed, tell our WOAI viewers what would you do differently? And specifically, we're going to show our WOAI viewers what you mean when you talk about the failures of the current district attorney. Sure. And how you would do things differently as the new district attorney for Bexar County.
Okay. Well, it's a mindset, it's vision, it's a culture. Right now we have way too much politics in the DA's office. We need a sense of service, and I want to be a public servant. I have zero interest in being a politician. So what I tell people is, if you're looking for a politician, don't vote for me, because I'm not your guy. But I absolutely want to serve. And so we need to co-labor with the community. We need to get involved in the community. The analogy that I've used many times is we need to touch the community and feel its pulse. But to do that, you have to be involved on the front end, to be involved with law enforcement, to be involved with different nonprofit organizations. We have a system that's always going to react to crime. If I'm the DA, we will react to crime, no doubt about it. The system is set up that way. But we're doing nothing to be proactive, as we discussed last time, to crime in our system, in our community, and we need to. That needs to change, absolutely.
Tomorrow is Election Day on Tuesday, November 4th. At this time, let's show our WOAI viewers a video, a commercial, as to why you would run things differently in the DA's office compared to the incumbent. And the commercial's dubbed Susan's Failures. Let's take a look and show our WOAI viewers what we're talking about.
No one's ever accused me of being soft on crime, never have been, never will be.
Why does a failed career politician deceive voters to keep her job? Fact is, Susan Reed's record reeks of failure. She has the worst record of prosecuting drunk drivers in Texas. San Antonio violent crimes are up 78% since she took office. Rape and sexual crimes against children are at record highs, too. Susan Reed has failed us all. Vote Nico LaHood for district attorney. He'll clean up San Antonio.
Crime is a big issue here in Bexar County, and DWI, Bexar County has a notorious reputation for drunk driving, car crashes, intoxication, manslaughters.
Right.
The Alamo City is a party town with the San Antonio Championship World, San Antonio Spurs. Right. We have Fiesta. We are a town that likes to party, but we also are a town that have a lot of people that drink and drive, and unfortunate, tragic things happen afterward. What would you do about DWI?
We're doing this. This is an exposure piece, right? So she makes a claim that she's tough on crime, she's innovative, and I can break this down from violent crimes. We talked about child abuse last time. Now we're talking about one thing is DWIs. Out of the 5 major counties in Texas, Tarrant, Travis, Dallas, Harris, and Bexar is the lowest performing county. We have the lowest conviction rates on DWIs, and I think it's up on the screen right now. And then we have the highest dismissal rate. Why do we have the highest dismissal rate? We have over 12,000 DWI cases pending in our courts right now. Let that sink in. We have 5,800 new DWIs every year. So you're talking about a high dismissal rate. Are we arresting the wrong people, or are we just not efficient in our system, and people that should be held accountable are being let go? So there's no accountability right now in this community.
You're a parent. Most of us are parents. You have children. We want our roadways to be safe, but when you look at these DWI statistics, it leads you to believe our roadways are not safe. What would Nico LaHood do as the new district attorney of Bexar County to make our roads safer when it comes to DWI?
We have to evaluate, is someone alcohol dependent or an alcohol abuser? That's a big deal when you're talking about the back end on probation. You cannot treat the two people the same. There's different therapy and treatment for both. But on the front end, we need to make sure that we co-labor with law enforcement, making sure that investigations are done properly, that they're well trained. Then once those cases are brought to the DA's office, now it's the district attorney's office to make sure that we're well trained and that we are up to date on field sobriety tests, on what they call gas chromatography, that's blood draws. I'm certified in that. On the breathalyzer test, things that we can make sure that we are evaluating cases appropriately and making sure that we're holding the right people accountable. When you look at 12,000 plus DWI cases, just DWIs, pending right now in our court systems with 5,800 new ones every year, and then you look at that horrible statistic of the lowest conviction rates but the highest dismissal rates, when you bring it all together and you have that evaluation, there needs to be some answers. And the fact that she's not here to answer that question, and not just today, this has been more than just today, she refuses to answer those questions for the voters.
DWI is a top issue, but so is the crime against children and the high rates of child abuse here in Bexar County. Child abuse is an issue that you're very passionate about.
Yes.
If you're elected as the new district attorney for Bexar County, how would you do things differently in the district attorney's office when it comes to child abuse in Bexar County?
Well, I've said this over and over again. We need to start working on the front end. I mean, CPS does investigations, but CPS is not the only way that a district attorney's office gets a child abuse case. I mean, she made a claim that only 800 cases are turned over to her. Get involved on the front end. How are they conducting those investigations? They're doing it through the family code. Should it be done through the penal code? It's a criminal investigation going on. Are you training with CPS? Do they understand how a case develops once it gets turned over to the district attorney's office? But besides that, you have organizations like Child Safe that are trying to go out there and educate teachers on looking for the signs of child abuse and sexual abuse on children. What is the district attorney's office doing with the authority and the voice of that office to be out there in the community, touching the pulse, right? The community, touching the pulse, and being proactive with that as well. You have to look at a separate issue, Matari. Now we're talking about substance abuse. listen to me, 98% of child abuse cases deal with substance abuse.
Wow.
And family violence is no different. So we have to address substance abuse as well. That opens up a whole different discussion about specialty courts that I was in favor of last time I ran, and I still am, and Ms. Reed was not. And that's a documented fact. You can ask any of the people involved in the system that know that. And so we have to look at things differently. We have to bring a different vision and culture into that office.
And you have gotten some support to help bring that vision to the office. And let's just bring it up and throw it out there.
Please.
Thomas J. Henry. Very wealthy, very well-known
Yes, he's blessed.
attorney. Yes.
Well, I'll just say it.
You couldn't watch the Super Bowl without learning who Thomas J. Henry was.
He's worked I've gotten to know him as time has gone on. I didn't know him before. I was introduced to him during the primary, and I'll try to keep it short. He didn't get involved. He just listened to me when I went to go speak with him, as many candidates do. I thought I bombed the meeting. And he said, well, let me get back to you, Nico. And what I realized was, he told me later, that he wanted to see if I got through the primary, and he wanted to do his own research on Ms. Reed and her office, and things he had heard, and then on myself. We re-engaged through that mutual friend after the primary, and he had dinner at my house with my wife, and he wanted to see what made us tick, and saw us how we were with our children and how I was with my wife. And the next day we met, and he says, Nico, I'm in. I had no idea what that meant. And he says, I'm in. I want to take care of your marketing for you. You've got to get your message out there. You were telling me all the things that hit dear to my heart. Child abuse cases. He's been involved in the community for years where he's from. He's given out over 250,000 turkeys in his community. He's been blessed by working very hard, and he gives back. He always says it's not just about receiving, but it's about giving back. And so he says, I'm going to take care of your marketing, and that's what he's done. So the message that we know, the statistics that people are educated about now, is because of the blessing of his involvement, period. And that's pretty much it.
And when you talk about his involvement, again, the focus is children.
Absolutely.
The focus is to reduce the abuse of children.
That's right, but we got to get that message out there. That conversation wasn't being said out there. And so that's important. Everything that we've done with his involvement is within statute, it's within legal code. I mean, so Ms. Reed can receive a check for $10 million if someone wanted to give it to her. Any DA candidate can. We've been very open and honest about it. We report everything. One thing that she tries to mislead voters on is he never turned a check over to me. It's been just given for the advertisement and marketing. He's never given me a penny. So, but thank God for his involvement, because now people understand the issue. Now people understand the dilemma that we have and the epidemic, really, that we've been dealing with. As we talked about last time, we lead the state in child abuse cases out of all 254 counties. We also lead the state in sending children back into a dangerous environment. That's terrible. I mean, so our system needs to be revamped, but I can't do it by myself, but I can lead the charge.
So we are talking about a new culture that could exist in the district attorney's office if you, Nico LaHood, are elected as the new district attorney of Bexar County. And tomorrow is Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th. We want to tell our WOAI viewers, or tell our viewers, why they should vote for Nico LaHood.
Well, it's a culture of service. It's not a culture of politics. Politics has no business in the DA's office, period. I'm blessed. I'm so humbled that I'm blessed to have both Republican and Democratic support. I love it when someone says, are you a Republican or a Democrat? That means I'm doing it right. If you don't know, then that's great, because we're talking about the real issues that involve our children and that affect our community, because it's about justice. I don't compromise my values or my principles or my faith. I don't push it on anybody, but I am going to be consistent, and that's what people are voting for, is consistency, hard work, humility, and I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to run this race, and I'm not afraid to keep our community safe.
When you talk about races, they cost money.
They do.
They're very expensive.
Yes.
And you ran a radio commercial that was later pulled.
Yes.
And it was called Abuse of Power.
Yes.
Tell us what exactly happened with that commercial, the content in that commercial, and what is the status of that commercial now?
Again, it would be wonderful to have Ms. Reed here so we can talk about it openly with the viewers. The irony of this situation is she abused her power to pull an ad exposing abuse of power. The ad was pulled because she called the office threatening them with all the power and the authority of the DA's office, and most people get intimidated by that, and so the ads were pulled without going through the proper procedures. There's a procedure to pull ads and things of that nature, because we have a right, a freedom of speech right, a First Amendment right to be out there and to speak the truth, and there's nothing factually wrong about that ad. Within 24 hours, that ad was back up. So she was wrong. She abused her power to try to threaten and influence people, as she's done many, many times before. And that needs to change. That whole bullying tactic and abuse of power needs to change, and it will.
Let's talk about the facts that are in the ad,
Sure.
Abuse of Power. That was on the radio, was pulled, but the ads are now back on the air. Let's talk about some of the issues that are in that radio spot.
Sure.
Abuse of power, number one.
One of them was the airline tickets. I mean, I have not run that. That has not been one of my platform issues. It's been about statistics and the children and the community. But everyone in the community brings up all the time, why aren't you bringing up airline tickets? How can she say she's the elected DA with all this experience, but yet she was duped, and that was her answer, not mine. She was duped into possessing stolen property. Her driver was indicted by the feds. She avoided answering questions about this issue. I mean, so the real question needs to be asked, if it's that easy to dupe you, Ms. Reed, maybe you're complacent and maybe you lost focus. Or number two, if you knew there was something wrong with those tickets, well then shame on you. That's not something that an elected DA should do.
That's one issue that was
one.
brought up in the Abuse of Power radio ad.
There was.
That was pulled after it was aired, but now it is back on the air.
No.
Issue number two.
Well, issue number two, a top chief in her office was involved in an accident, and unfortunately a young lady lost her life. And the only issue I was trying to raise in that, and the discussion that we could have if we were in front of each other, was why was that investigation handled differently than any other investigation? Investigations of many people that they've gone through situations with an accident where someone has lost their life, and it has to be done fairly. It cannot be a do as I say, not as I do mentality. We all need to be held accountable. The elected DA, law enforcement, people accused, citizens, judges, defense bar, everybody. It's an accountability issue. It's not a mudslinging issue. It's an accountability issue. And that was issue number 2 that we brought up.
Issue number 3, check fraud.
Check fraud. One of our employees that had just gotten a raise was investigated by authorities other than the DA's office, and she was charged with stealing $30,000 of money that belongs to the county and the citizens of Bexar County. That happened right under her nose.
And let's talk about records being redacted or difficult to access.
Yes, it was. The Express News was doing their own investigation on some phone records that people were using phones for personal interest instead of county business. And she held back and then redacted numbers, and she didn't want to expose the truth behind the people that were using these phones. And she didn't cooperate in that investigation, and it wasn't even a law enforcement investigation. So again, the spirit of hypocrisy doesn't belong in the DA's office. Again, the do as I say and not as I do, that just doesn't fly with people. It didn't work in my pop. My pop didn't raise me that way. He always taught me, son, don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me. Your actions speak louder than your words. And I always remembered that. And I always didn't do that, but I always remembered that now as I'm a grown man, 42 years old, with 3 beautiful children that I'm crazy about, and a husband, and have responsibilities as a family man, as a friend, as a lawyer, and hopefully, God willing, as the DA. I'll never forget that.
Why is it important for you to let the WOAI viewers know about the content of that ad, Abuse of Power, Nico?
Because no one talks about it. People have been afraid to, and I'm going to say hold her accountable. I don't want to say expose. I'm not trying to be sensational. I'm just trying to be real. Hold her accountable. I'm way okay with people holding me accountable. I've been held accountable all my life. People try to hold former clients of mine accountable. I think everyone should be held accountable to include her. You can't point fingers at people and not realize you have 3 fingers pointing back at yourself. And there's more than 3 fingers pointing back at herself in that ad. And she abused her power to pull it down, and within 24 hours it was put back up. And if we let a person in power abuse their authority to hush us up, to infringe on our First Amendment right, where does it end? That's a snowball. Be careful. And I say this all the time. When people either criticize me in support of her and really don't think back about all the issues, I always respectfully challenge people and say, be careful of the world you help create, because someday you just might have to live in it. I don't forget that, and it's something that we all have to be focused on, regardless of what we do in our lives, and especially in the DA's office.
You are looking to basically have a new day and a new way in the DA's office. Election Day is tomorrow, Tuesday, November 4th. Want to remind all of our viewers to bring your ID when you go to vote.
Yes.
You are trying to introduce a different culture into the DA's office, one that is perceived as a collaborative. It's a change, Nico, is that right?
It's co-laboring. I mean, you need to co-labor with the community. People, what I get when I've been out in the community all these months is they haven't seen Ms. Reed in a very long time in the community. I mean, I go to festivals, I mean, everyday stuff, barbecues. I mean, I'm an everyday schmo, man. I put my pants on one leg at a time. Life affects us the same as everybody else. As you talked about.
You have been up all night with sick kids, right?
I probably look like I'm traveling because I have big bags under my eyes. But I mean, my wife and I got 2 hours of sleep last night because 2 of our 3 children were sick up all night. So, but that's life. We all deal with life, and life affects us all. And life has affected me in many different ways, and that brings a balance to my perspective. And that balanced perspective, I think, is what people are missing. And what I've seen in the community is people are starving for sincerity. I know what my heart says. God knows what my heart says. I know what I want to do for this community. I've taken on this challenge, and it has not been easy. I've missed many, many bedtimes with my children. I've missed many family dinners, a lot. But it's because, Matari, I'm a purpose-driven man. I'm not a goal-driven man. And what I mean by that is this. If I was a goal-driven man, then if I reached the goal of being DA tomorrow, God willing, then I stop. I've reached my goal. But when I'm purpose-driven, a goal is just one step in reaching my purpose, and the purpose is to bring a safer community for our children and our grandchildren.
And when you talk about purpose and bringing a safer community for our children and our grandchildren, we've talked about child abuse, we've talked about DWI and what you would do to make our roads safer. Let's talk about another segment of the community that is just as vulnerable as our children, and that is the segment involving the elderly.
Yes.
You would do things differently regarding how elder abuse is handled in the district attorney's office.
Again, I mean, with all due respect, I mean, just because you open a unit in your office, you can't say that you're effective. Have we dissected it? We look at the numbers. When we look at child abuse numbers, when we look at elderly fraud numbers, is there money being collected? Sure there is, but any DA would do that. And we need to see, are you being effective? If I owned a business and I told you I opened up a new department, but I wasn't productive, I didn't produce any money, I didn't employ any jobs, I didn't do anything for the business other than put another title on it, well then that's not really effective. Am I saying that she's doing that? No. I want to be fair. I'm not trying to mudsling. But I'm saying we haven't really analyzed exactly how effective are you and what statistics show that you've been effective other than just a flat number that you've collected money for elder fraud cases. Just like on Saturday, there was a newspaper article where now Miss Reed's not even responding anymore. Cliff Herberg, the first assistant, who's not the elected DA, is answering for her now. Why? I would have been okay with Cliff Herberg sitting here, by the way. Anybody could have sat here and represented her, but she needs to be here answering all these questions. So go back to elderly fraud. We need to be effective. We don't need to step on the horn and bring attention to it. That's wonderful. Are we effective? And we can talk about specific incidents if you want
I was going to say, let's talk about a specific incident of elder abuse. 7 to 9 months ago, there was a video that was shown on just about every TV station in the market about elder abuse. It's very disturbing, and this is what we're looking at right now. It's basically a hidden video camera showing an employee at an assisted living facility abusing an elderly woman, a senior citizen.
Right.
It could have been your grandmother or mine or anyone else's in the community.
My grandparents are in heaven, but it's true. And it's frustrating to watch.
It's difficult to watch.
It's frustrating to watch. But my point is they were investigating because this elderly woman had made a complaint that things were missing in her room. And this is what they found. Is there more? Are they trained? Are they working with the DA's office to look for these cues, what they call them cues, what we say clues of elder abuse and fraud? That's very disturbing to watch, right? It really irritates you and irritates me. We have that video, so what's the holdup? Right, so that's where I'm just trying to bring light to. And this is one of many examples. I'm not trying to cherry pick like what I've accused her of, so I want to be very fair. I'm not trying to cherry pick one situation, but this is one of many situations out there, not just on elderly fraud, on child abuse cases, on other cases where I've heard over and over again, Mr. LaHood, Nico, our complaints, our yell for help has fallen on deaf ears. I mean, I get private messages on Facebook when I'm out in the community, people reaching out to me, and that's a shame. You need to be accessible, and people need their answers and their concerns addressed.
Because when we look at that video, that incident surfaced about 7 to 9 months ago, I believe last March.
I believe so.
And it appears that nothing has moved forward with any kind of prosecution regarding that case. How would you do things differently if the voters elect you as the next district attorney of Bexar County, Nico?
I guess, without trying to sound sarcastic, it doesn't take a lot of investigation to know that that's wrong. That's not acceptable. We move forward with it. I mean, even the gentleman that's in that video has a right to his day in court if he's accused. I believe in our Constitution. I don't cherry pick and choose what areas of the Constitution I believe. I believe in all of it. And so he has a right to effective assistance of counsel, due process. But the victim, the alleged victim, has a right to due process also, and that means fundamental fair play. That's what due process means, fundamental fair play. And what I would bring to this office is true due process, fundamental fair play for alleged victims and for the accused as well.
Because the woman in that assisted living facility, I believe, her daughter went to visit her, and the senior citizen was complaining, as you mentioned, that people were stealing her stuff. And so her daughter set up a hidden camera in her mother's room.
Right.
And that is what she captured, was the video we all just saw, the very disturbing video. You would do things differently as the district attorney of Bexar County as far as the status of this case and the prosecution of this case?
Status of this case, I mean, he should be accused, he should be in the system, waiting for his day, which he rightfully and constitutionally deserves, his day in court. He has a right to effective assistance of counsel, right to cross-examine witnesses, and he had to due process, and I would afford him that due process. He has a right to a speedy trial, how about that? But so does the victims in cases. They have a right to speedy trials. I can't tell you how many times that people that I know call my office and say, Nico, can we hire you for what? Are you in trouble? No. We're victims in a case, but we need communication with the DA's office. You want to hire me to be a go-between between you and the DA's office? There's advocates. There should be assistant district attorneys. There should be a culture of caring to let, I know what it's like, Matari. We talked about this last time. I know what it's like to be victimized. I remember when we lost my brother in '96, and it was under a different DA. It was not Susan Reed. There was wonderful communication. The assistant district attorneys did a wonderful job bringing justice to my family. I know what it's like to want communication and want answers when you have a very serious situation pending and wanting justice for your family. I will never forget that as a DA.
Speaking about family, you're married, you have 3 young children, you've been up all night with 2 of your 6 children.
I'll stay up all night for the rest of my life if it takes it.
Why are you running for district attorney of Bexar County, Nico?
Not just for my kids, but for everyone else's kids, because I'm grateful. I mean, I know a lot of people don't understand that, but I have a spirit of gratitude. I've gone through a lot of stuff, we'll call it stuff in my life, from poor choices, and we've talked about that so much, to tragedy. And I'm grateful that I sit before you and I can look at the viewers and the voters and say I'm a man of peace and joy. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to God for that. And that causes me wanting to serve. That makes me want to serve. And I feel like I've been called to say, okay, well, I need to get you in the battlefield. And this is a tough one, but I need you out there to serve and to really make a difference in this community.
That's right. And you need your voters to come out and vote tomorrow, Tuesday,
Everybody.
November 4th, Election Day. Bring your ID and come out and vote. When you talk about why you're running for district attorney, you have a lot of endorsements, whether it's from different law enforcement agencies or whether it's from some prominent members of the San Antonio Spurs. And I've noticed when you look at the spots, which can be found on NicoForDA.com or SanAntonioChampionsForChildren.com, when you look at the commercials, they're really focusing on you, Nico LaHood, and the character of Nico LaHood, not so much the political office or the office that you're running for. Tell us what you think those videos mean, and then we'll show our WI viewers what we're talking about.
Well, they're flattering. I've known Tim, and people know now, for many, many years. I've known Tony for many years, and Tim is godfather to our child, to our son. And if you ask Tim or Tony or Bruce or Antonio, why would Nico make a better DA, they couldn't legally give you an answer. And they know I'm a trial attorney, and they know how hard I work, but they know my character and what I would bring to the office, consistency. I have a sense of justice. I'm going to do, as they say, what's right. And I don't like air quotes, so I won't do it. But I mean, just what's right. What does that mean? Every situation's different. You got to do what's right. And sometimes doing what's right is making the tough call. Doing what's right, Matari, is not doing what's easy. It's doing what's right, no matter what it calls for. And so they know that about my character, and so it's flattering that they wanted to be involved. I don't have them on any TV spots, not because I'm embarrassed of them, but I didn't want to make it about celebrities. It's not about that. It's about the trust they have in me because they know my character for so many years. So they volunteered and to do something, and we made those videos for the website and some commercials for radio, but that's it, and I'm honored and flattered.
Well, let's show our WI viewers what Tony Parker had to say about Nico LaHood. Let's take a look.
Please.
Okay. We're having some problems with that video.
He did not pull his endorsement of me.
Right. There was a problem. As soon as they get it back up.
Well, they can go to the website.
And they can go to the website, which is NicoForDA.com and San Antonio Champions for Children.
But I think what's more, I want to say more important, but I think when you're looking at the office of DA, what is more important when you're talking about that is the endorsement of the Bexar County Sheriff's Association. That's a big deal. These are law enforcement officers, deputies that are out there keeping our community safe, and they deal with the DA's office on a daily basis, from investigating murders, crimes, sexual assault, ag sex assaults, all kinds of things. And then you talk about the Firefighters Association. Very humbling to get that first responders endorsement. They deal with issues that affect our community as well. And then the Adult Probation Association, that's huge. They deal with the back end of the justice system, right? They deal with that 75 to 80% repeat offender rate we talked about last time, the recidivism rate, and they're trying to curb that, but they are not getting the help and support of the district attorney's office to do that. And so I think that's very telling that these 3 organizations have endorsed me to be the next district attorney. I'm very honored, and I don't take any endorsement lightly. But ultimately, I'm looking for the endorsement of the citizens of Bexar County.
And on that note, we've got less than a minute. Talk to our WOAI viewers. Tell the parents, moms, kids, soccer moms, tell them why they should vote for you, Nico LaHood. Nico, tell them.
Well, I've seen the justice system from every angle. I've lived some life. I've been young and foolish, and I've made a poor choice and went through the system and turned my life around. I'm very proud of that. I've been a special prosecutor, so I've prosecuted cases. I've defended cases. I've been a magistrate judge and been trusted by 9 district court judges. I've taught at 2 police academies. I've been an adjunct professor, and I've been recognized statewide for my talents in the courtroom. So I'd be honored to represent you and your children in our community if you humble me and vote me as DA.
Tomorrow's Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th. Bring your ID.